Hello, good evening and welcome to Joy News Prime. We're live on GoTV channel 125, DSTV channel 421 and around the globe at myjoyonline.com. We're also live on your digital television set because we are free to air. My name is Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up this hour, ECOWAS declares Niger a no-fly zone as it announces zero tolerance for coup in West Africa. Also, government is working on passing the Public Officers Conduct Bill. That's the assurance from Deputy Attorney General in the wake of the Cecilia Dapa stolen cash scandal. We have details. And Tourism Minister tells diasporan community to disregard any attempt to portray Africa as a land of disease and corruption. More from him as Ghana readies itself for this year's Emancipation Day celebration. We also have business and government is to use the mid-year budget to provide more update on measures to restore macroeconomic stability. Details of these and more coming up in the next 30 minutes. Now the details. West African leaders have today announced a raft of sanctions on the Republic of Niger following last week's military coup in the West African country. Henceforth, Niger has been declared a no-fly zone, restricting all commercial flights moving to and fro almost all West African countries. West African heads of state and governments have converged at the headquarters of the regional body ECOWAS over the political situation in Nigeria after a group of presidential guards unconstitutionally pushed Mohammed out of government. Head of Diplomatic and Foreign Affairs Desk, Blessed Soga, joins us with more on the resolution made at the end of today's extraordinary summit held by ECOWAS. Blessed, do we know if President Akufo-Addo was present?
Joined his colleagues, heads of states from 7 other West African countries. There were also representatives from other West African countries forming this economic community of West African states. The essence of this summit basically was to consider the political situation in Niger. The community, first of all, noted that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is now taking over as the chairperson and has been holding consultations with relevant stakeholders ahead of the meeting today. The meeting, first of all, condemned in no uncertain terms the kind of military takeover that was witnessed in Niger. They then went ahead to do some consideration of the facts that they were gathering on the ground regarding the political situation in Niger, and have come to the conclusion that immediately all land and air borders will be sealed off from Niger. So Niger is being isolated as we speak. There's a declaration of a no-fly zone within the area. As ECOWAS says, it is taking steps to rid the West African sub-region of the this trend of coup d'etats that we're seeing. Beyond that as well, any form of financial transactions that used to take place within Niger and Ghana and other West African countries will cease from tonight. And we're expecting that will be scaled up to other movements of people who are connected to this military junta that's taking over power in Niger. The understanding is that there would not be any sort of movement that will be permitted for anyone that will serve within this military regime to move beyond the borders of West Africa. And so basically the heads of states have decided that Niger will be isolated as a result of the military coup d'etat. They are first of all calling for the reinstatement of Mohammed and also asking that he be released from any form of detention. Now, they go ahead to also point out that they will reject any form of resignation letter purportedly that may be coming from this West Africa leader. And finally, we're expecting that in the coming days, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria will announce an envoy that will negotiate the return, obviously, to constitutional rule. We're uncertain as to how that will play out and if indeed the military team in Niger will be willing to cooperate with these West African leaders.
Very grateful for your time, Head of Diplomatic and Foreign Affairs Desk, Blessed Suga there. Now, meanwhile, the West African Center for Counter-Extremism says the development has another blow to the deterioration of democracy in West Africa. Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar is Executive Director at the center.
Another sad development and another feature undermining the promise and sustenance of democracy in West Africa. But of course, at the moment, these are developing situations that we're looking at. And so we've had, the presidential palace blockaded by the inner military of the president. And there are several efforts underway in terms of trying to negotiate with these military officers. There's a stalemate. We're not sure yet what the outcome would be, but it doesn't look promising yet at the moment. But what it means is that there are several things at play. If this succeeds, that's a further blow to efforts in terms of democratizing and sustaining, democracy in West Africa.
Well, let's go over to Zoom once again and engage Seydou Abudu, who is the president of the Ghanaian community there. Seydou, how is the Ghanaian community reacting to this development in Niger? Kindly unmute and then we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfectly clear.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Ghana community, we are trying all our best to protect Ghanaians who are living in Niger. We have some meeting with the Ghana embassy, and we have put some measures down so that measures to protect Ghanaians who are living in Niger.
Right, Seydou, what is the current situation for them? If you could be a bit elaborate on that. We want to understand whether their personal security or safety is under control at this moment.
Now everything is under control. It's only in the morning that we have some short demonstration in the morning, but right now everything's under control. Yeah, we are going out and we are going in and out. Everything's under control.
So, do we get the sense that there's no harm to any Ghanaian resident in Niger as we speak?
No. As I've told you, we had a meeting with the Ghana embassy and we are using some WhatsApp group to educate all the Ghanaians not to go out, not to involve any demonstration. So all Ghanaians, they are safe now.
Right. We also know that Niger is an important trading partner when it comes to onions for Ghana. How would this development affect onion trading, especially for Ghanaians who have been bringing the produce to Ghana market?
Now that the borders are closed, I think it's going to affect that trade, the onion traders a lot. It's going to affect them. It's going to affect them.
Can you come again, please? I didn't get that.
As now all the borders have been closed, I think the traders is going to affect them because they cannot send the onion to other countries. It's going to affect them right now.
Right. All right. I know you've earlier on said that the Ghanaian residents there are safe, but is there any correspondence with the embassy there to establish some measures or some kind of control within the Ghanaian community there?
As I told you, we had a meeting with them yesterday and we have put some measures down. So all the measures that we put it down is to protect all the Ghanaians in this country, and all Ghanaians are safe right now.
Right. We're grateful for your time. Seydou Abudu is the president of the Ghanaian Association over there in Niger. And as you heard earlier, there has been a no-call, a no-fly zone, I beg your pardon, in Niger as we speak. That is the declaration by heads of state belonging to ECOWAS. Now, moving on for hours, several hours, passengers were left stranded at the Kotoka International Airport after their flight KLM Boeing 77 made a U-turn because of a technical fault. Before they took off to Amsterdam, Netherlands, was reported to have delayed over an hour. It finally took off, but had to go under an emergency landing after 20 minutes in the air. Deputy Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority, Daniel Akwa, joins us on the phone lines with more. Mr. Akwa, we're grateful for your time here on Joy News Prime. Can you enlighten us the current situation of this flight and the passengers?
Okay, thank you, Joy News, and good evening to you and your numerous listeners. Concerning the KLM flight, KL flight 590, that was supposed to depart Accra last Friday night. Yeah, the aircraft, passengers boarded the aircraft all the same, and then finally departed around 23:09 hours GMT. That's about 9 minutes past 11 in the night. As the flight was progressing, just within a few minutes, the pilot received an alarm in the cockpit, a warning story in the cockpit that there was fire in the forward cargo bay. And as usual, as a professional pilot or pilots, they have to go through their fire procedure and then land the aircraft as soon as practicable, which they did. So oxygen bottles, fire extinguishers were fired to just get rid of any possible fire, and the aircraft landed. But when the aircraft landed safely, they realized that it was a false alarm. Concerning the flight, passengers had to be rebooked, and then the following day, that was yesterday, KLM had these passengers being conveyed back to Amsterdam, as well as the usual flight that was scheduled for yesterday. So yesterday there were 2 flights from Kutuka International Airport conveying 2 sets of passengers to Amsterdam. So at the moment there's no backlog, and their luggage also went with us.
Right, but Mr. Akwa, has there been an establishment of the cause of this technical fault?
It's being investigated, but as usual with any machinery or any equipment, technologically, once in a while you have some kind of false information or feedback. It's just like having any kind of electrical gadgets giving you feedback. Even in our normal, maybe office buildings and so on and so forth, sometimes you may have fire alarm just coming on. The occupants evacuate, and then they realize that it is just a false alarm. It happens in hotels. It happens everywhere. If you look, you can liken that even to a normal street light. You have maybe photo sensors or photo cells that are supposed to turn the lights on and off. Sometimes there's a false sensor, or there's a problem with the sensor, and even during the day you have the light on, or sometimes even the night the light might not come on when it is dark. So we are dealing with technology, and we know we have a few snags or issues with such gadgets.
We're grateful for your time. Mr. Daniel Akwa is Deputy Director General, Civil Aviation Authority. Moving on, Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice Alfred Tuah is assuring Ghanaians and pressure groups that the government is committed to passing the Conduct of Public Officers Bill. According to Mr. Yeboah, the bill will be passed before the expiration of this government. His assurance comes in the wake of news of stolen cash from the home of former Sanitation Minister, Madam Cecilia Dapa. Mr. Yeboah was speaking on Newsfile.
It's not about having a minister, one minister, but you have people writing letters to the Attorney General. I don't know whether council has not done it before. That we intervene to cover it and then review. So it's a normal occurrence, normal practice. Now to the substantive question. Yes, the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, as it's been discussed, is a bill that has been there for quite a long time, and we are so committed to having it passed. It is considered that it has taken a long path for it to get Parliament maybe within this term for it to be passed. But we can give the assurance that this government, and from what we have done and what I know, speaking as the Deputy Attorney General, that bill will definitely get passed. It is in the interest of Ghanaians. It is in the interest of the fight against corruption. It is in the interest of accountability to have that bill passed.
Now, adding his voice to calls for politicians to desist from stashing foreign currencies in their homes instead of banks, consultant Dr. Richmond observed that the situation is depriving the banks of the support required to re-oil Ghana's economy, a practice he fears is doing the country more harm than good.
The negative impact is straightforward, Sammy. You are depriving the surplus end of the money to the deficit end. What we mean is that the banks will receive this money and will give it to loans so that the economy will grow. But if you do that, if you don't do that and somebody hold on it, that money is being withheld. That is why you move the money from the surplus area to deficit area through the financial system. Again, when they say they are monitoring M1, M2, the measure of money supply M1, M2, they cannot measure it. But the quantum of the money is sitting somewhere where nobody even has to control. It doesn't work. What about inflation? It is no. That is where they did. You see, immediately they saw the currency going down. They pumped in the money. They bought the dollar. So the dollar started going to 15. So even this hiding this money has something to do with the pricing of the currency. And these things have ramification effect and the negative effect on the economy. So when people say inflation, what do you ask? Why do we talk about that? We talk about it because it erodes the purchasing power of the Ghanaian. That is why we are more concerned.
Now, Minister for Tourism, Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Awal, is urging the diaspora to dismiss any portrayal of Africa as a land of diseases and corruption. Speaking at a wreath-laying ceremony as part of activities to mark this year's Emancipation Day and Pan-African celebrations, Dr. Awal urged Africans in the diaspora to support the development of the continent.
We have to go beyond the political emancipation of Africa. We need to focus on the economic development of Africa. To achieve that, the U.S. has a GDP of $24 trillion. And the African community, the black community, has committed a lot to this development. I want you to look back to the homeland. Build partnerships, business relationship with your motherland, so that we can draw from there. Let us ignore the Western media about Africa. To the Western media, Africa is hopeless. Disease is corruption. Africa is beyond that. Mr. Keita, Captain Jason, let's not brand Africa. Tell the world Africa has a lot to offer. Rich and diverse culture, grown people, good people, natural resources. We need this partnership between Africa and the diaspora, African America, to turn Africa around. We are very talented young people. 65% of Africans are below the age of 25 years. Well educated, willing, and hungry for success. I extend a hand of friendship to them. Let's build the human resource of Africa so that tomorrow will not complete too much of slavery. I want to thank you all for supporting us, and together, let's build and renew Africa. The Decentralized Africa project cannot succeed without diaspora.
Now, still on that, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi Agyeman, urged all Africans in the diaspora to work and break the mental chains that stop them from going all out to achieve the best for the continent.
We are here as a gesture of unity. We are here also as a point of reflection and education. As we are coming and as you are here, I think it's time for us to re-educate ourselves about what emancipation means, about what the struggle meant, and about how our forebears and our ancestors went through hundreds of years of struggle so that you and I can be free. And today we are here gathered finally as a reminder and a renewal of our commitment to the struggle. Like we were told at Padmore, the chains are off, but the chains are in our minds. And so we need to free ourselves of the mental slavery that still holds us down. And so we're here hoping to lay wreaths in memory of our ancestors, but also to renew our commitment in the struggle for true emancipation and emancipation of our mind.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. In business, government is expected to update Ghanaians on some key measures in ensuring lower inflation, favorable interest rates, and protecting the vulnerable from high cost of food and services, according to a statement signed by the Ministry of Finance. The 2023 media presentation will provide some highlights on policies undertaken by government to minimize the shocks of the ongoing economic program with the International Monetary Fund, as well as other post-COVID-19 related concerns. There's more in the following report.
The presentation will provide an update on the implementation of the 2023 budget with insight into the economic and fiscal performance for the first half of this year. It will discuss policy implemented to stabilize the economy, promote growth, and provide social protection for the vulnerable, as outlined in the IMF-supported post-COVID-19 program for economic growth. In focusing on the outlook, the statement will outline the critical imperatives to restore macroeconomic stability and accelerate economic transformation. The issues that will be highlighted include structural reforms in the expenditure commitment control and arrears clearance, debt management, financial stability, and a growth agenda, amongst others. In accordance with Section 28 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, the Media Fiscal Policy Review of the Budget Statement and Economic Policy of the Government of Ghana for 2023 financial year is expected to be presented to Parliament on Monday, July 31, 2023.
Economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Patrick Esuming, is asking government to be heavy on the extractive sector in its mid-year budget review. According to him, government should explore diverse ways of streamlining the activities of the sector to rake in more revenue domestically.
We've seen one of the new taxes that were introduced have something on that. But I mean, we are definitely not getting enough revenue from the extraction. But ultimately, we shouldn't only look in terms of the revenue side. We should look at how we use the extractives to build, connect the extractive to other sectors of the economy, see how we can do more processing of some of our minerals and gain more value from the extraction, and not just focus on raising more revenue from the extractive sector. You sense that we needed both, because I mean, the current debt that we have that we cannot pay is just not sustainable. We had to do something. But it's also important that we just don't restructure and refuse to address the underlying problem. There are clear issues with the way we've managed our cocoa sector. It's a very important sector for the economy, but unfortunately, some of the things that have happened, after several years of doing the cocoa syndicated loan, we should have been in a better position than now. So, yes, the cocoa bills, the debt exchange we are doing around that will give us some temporary relief, but if you don't plug the hole, if you don't improve the way we are managing the cocoa sector, then you end up back here again. So I think it's important that we do both.
And that's all for business, and that's how we wrap the bulletin here on Joy News Prime. I am Amesi Nyamiche Thompson. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Thanks for your company.